Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coffee and Sports Morning Show. I'm your host for today, Mr. William D. Morgan. As you see down there, the truth, unlike Freddie, I am the truth. Unlike Freddie, never forget that. Anyway, we're going to have a fun show tonight. We're going to have a fun show today. It's going to be a fun show. Got a lot to talk about. I'm bringing my man right next to me. Mo, how you doing today, man?
Hey, what's good, William? Welcome aboard, man. I see you running the ship. Love it. Love it.
Thank you, man. I got to do it the only way I know how. All right, there's a couple of things I got to get off my chest. I'm kind of going to go out of order of the topics a little bit because there's one thing that kind of makes me upset on this topics list. Tyler Herro calls himself a top 15 player. Really, dude? Really? Top 15? You? What you think, Mo?
I think Tyler Herro's got a lot of confidence, as well he should have. I think all professional athletes have a high degree of confidence. He's skilled. He's talented. I still don't think we've seen the best basketball from him, but he's not a top 15 player. He's not even he's the third best player on his own team. So he's not a top 15 player. Like just maybe in his conference he is, but in the NBA, there are way too many talented wing players that I would put ahead of Tyler Herro. Even though I like him as a basketball player, he's on the rise, but top 15, he's got a lot of work to do to become a top 15 player.
Yeah, he does. He gets a lot of work to do. And you said it, a lot of confidence. I appreciate that, but come on, man. We all know you're not a top 15 player.
Let me ask you something, Will. Tyrese Maxey of the Sixers, who's clearly another young talent on the rise. I would ask the question, is Tyler Herro better than Tyrese Maxey right now today? Because I think Maxey's as good, at least as good. And I don't consider him a top 15 player. Not yet. Not yet. So I don't think he's better than Tyrese Maxey, even though he's got a longer resume.
Right.
A healthy LaMelo Ball is better than Tyler Herro. I think obviously we know the talent is there. Trae Young, he's got a lot. He didn't have a lack of critics. But Trae Young, by far, is ahead of Tyler Herro. We can go down the list just in his conference. Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Darius Garland on the same
team.
I don't think he's better than Darius Garland. He's not better than Jalen Brunson. We can keep going. He's a talented guy. I love the confidence. Don't get me wrong. I love the confidence. And maybe that means it's a prelude to him having a big year this year where he makes a leap up. But right now, today, no, he's not a top 15 player.
No, he's not top 15 at all. And like I said, and I agree with you. I appreciate the confidence in yourself, but at the same point, be realistic, bro. Be realistic. Let's head over to who we got in the chat. Look, it was in the chat. Look. That old no good Laker fan himself. Freddie Henderson is in the chat, y'all. He is in the chat. Oh, hey, hey, look, Freddie. The link is in our chat. If you want to come in here, you're more than welcome to come through, Freddie. More than welcome to come through. Real quick, let me see what's up. What's up with my girl Jury? Jury, how you doing? Good to have you with us.
What's up?
We got my boy Joe. Joe, how you doing? DeSoto, how you doing, man? So yeah, if you want to come through, Freddie, you're more than welcome. Let's go on to our next story real quick. News is coming out about how there are no rules in Chicago. Sox players are skipping meetings, skipping practice, sleeping in the bullpen, and do whatever without little to no consequences. What are your reactions to that, and how can Chicago fix that issue? I know they have a new manager, and I can't pronounce his last name to save my freaking life. But I know Pedro Grifol, if I said it correctly, is their skipper. Do you think he's having a little too much fun with the White Sox?
If those reports are true, there's a lack of leadership, and it would start with the skipper, right?
Yep.
It starts with the skipper, and maybe we can go above the skipper, the owner. I think leadership is one of those kind of things that can trickle down. But if those reports are true, there's a lack of leadership, there's a lack of professionalism. That also would go to the players. Like in your locker room, somebody is the leader. Somebody is the guy that you look to. If they're all doing those things, not practicing, sleeping, being less than professional, then there is no leadership within an organization. And what they need is they need a major facelift in terms of their roster. They need to move some people on. Like, they've got guys that are being paid well, and they're not being paid well to not perform their jobs. So to me, it starts at the top. If your owner and your manager is going to allow this to happen, then your franchise is in need of a facelift, because they're playing a game that they're being paid to play. You're
Right.
not doing this just for fun. This is a job. This is a profession. It's a privilege to be a professional athlete. And these guys are highly paid professional athletes. So to me, to your fan base, maybe that's more important. You owe it to your fan base to demand a degree of professionalism from your players. And it starts at the top.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You have to show that leadership role, that responsibility. Cool, what's going on, man? Hey, cool. I mean, you gotta talk some wrestling at some point, man, because I was pissed off about this weekend. But anyway, it just pissed me off. But anyway, they're underperforming, that's for sure. And I'm just shocked because, back in the day, in the early days of baseball, skippers got held a little bit more accountable than they do today. And I'm kind of shocked to hear those reports. I just saw them yesterday for the first time. I'm saying, what the heck is going on with the White Sox?
That's kind of crazy to begin with, first of all. And I really don't understand how you can't get a hold of that you can't bring in your best players, sit them down, have a conversation, and demand some accountability from them. And that should trickle down to the rest of the guys. So to me, this is a team that's just in disarray. That's kind of embarrassing that they don't practice. They sleep when they want to. What do they call it? The inmates are running the asylum, right?
Yep.
And that's crazy.
Yep. Let me see here. I do want to take a look at one thing. Let me see. Oh yeah. I'm looking at the standings right now. They're fourth in their own division at 46 and 68. That's just atrocious.
Right. So you're fourth in your own division. You don't have time to slack off.
No.
You don't have time to slack off. If anything, you should be in kind of some kind of part of desperation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the competitive fire? I don't understand that.
Where's the will to win?
Right. Where's the will to win? Where's the will to represent your franchise, represent your city?
And it's like, and even if you don't have that for your team as an athlete, you should have that for yourself. You should have that professional pride to go out there and give it your best.
Exactly.
And these guys definitely aren't doing it.
Right. And if they're putting that kind of energy out there, so to me, that's also a message to all the other clubs out there. There's guys on that roster that you don't want. There's guys in that clubhouse that you don't want in your clubhouse.
I look at it like this. Even though they faltered a little bit down the stretch, if Tampa can turn themselves around and do what they're doing this season, anybody can do it. And that's just my opinion. You guys could agree, you guys could disagree. They're falling off a little bit. Baltimore is in the division lead right now. But if Tampa Bay can turn themselves around, then I believe the White Sox can do it too. And right now they're just underperforming. We got the Twins leading that division right now with Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, and Kansas City. It's time. Yeah, thank you, Cool. It's time to make some changes in Chicago. Sir. It's time. It's just ridiculous. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Give me one moment here. In fact, did my computer go? Oh, okay, there we go. All right. Steve Kerr says the Warriors need CP3 in order to not be as one-dimensional on offense. You buy or sell Steve Kerr's comments?
I bought it as soon as they found out they traded for Chris Paul. A lot of people were talking about, well, the Warriors play a certain pace. Chris Paul doesn't play their pace. Right. He doesn't play their pace. What he gives them is he gives them a different look. He's basically a curveball. You throw in fastballs all the time. Chris Paul's a curveball. What Chris Paul's going to do, he's going to bring the ball up and he's going to attack you in the half-court set. He's going to run your big man into a pick and roll, create a mismatch, and set his guys up for open shots. And when he doesn't set his guys up for open shots, he's going to kill you with that mid-range jump shot. So I love what Steve Kerr says. I thought that the moment they made that move, when everybody else was like, he doesn't play their pace, he doesn't need to. He plays to his pace. They'll work around him. Don't forget, he's not going there to start, but my guess is in certain lineups, he will be part of the closing lineup.
And that would make sense. To close things out. And particularly if Steph Curry gets hurt, we can put him right in there. If he gets hurt, you can put him in there temporarily.
It gives you another shooter. It gives you another shooter too. Like Chris Paul's not one-dimensional. He's not at his prime, but I would still say he's competitive on defense, super high basketball IQ. So the idea that he doesn't fit with Golden State, I think that's people looking on the outside and judging off of how things finished up with Phoenix. I would argue that playing with Golden State is actually going to energize Chris Paul.
And another thing too will also keep him healthy, keep him a little bit fresher coming off that bench.
Yes. So now he's not playing 35, 36 minutes at Golden State. I'm going to say they're going to have him at 28, maybe 30 minutes tops. So he's got a pitch count. So I think that Golden State is the best place for him. If he's trying to play a couple of more years and chase that ring, they'll sustain him better physically as well too. That Chris Paul being on Golden State has nothing to do with the regular season. You want to develop chemistry, but Chris Paul being on Golden State is all about the postseason.
Let me ask you this. The one thing that's concerning about Golden State, they still are a small team. They still hadn't went out and got anybody a real size. And there's some people out there who you could get with some real size. What's going on? Why aren't these big men being picked up?
You know what? I'm looking at Golden State, and I think that they believe that outside of Denver, and I'm talking about the Joker, there really is no dominant post player in the Western Conference. Anthony Davis is skilled, and he can give you buckets. Where he gives Golden State troubles on the defensive end. So I think they're looking at Denver, and they're saying that Denver's the only one with a dominant center. Denver's the only one that you need to beef up for and double team. And I believe that Golden State thinks if they can play at their pace and dictate pace, that they can play with Denver. Look, everybody's going to say Golden State's done because they're talking about their age and things of that nature. What I would remind people is this: the NBA is a young man's game in the regular season. It is veteran teams 9 times out of 10 that win titles, not young teams. That's just a fact. Not young teams. It is a veterans game in the postseason. You might have young stars that are flanked by veterans, but it is a veterans game. So anybody that thinks that Golden State is done, I'm going to have to challenge your basketball knowledge because they're far from done.
I just think I would like to see them get some size, and then I think they can truly compete. If they get some of that, if they get some size back to match the Lakers, to match what Denver's doing, I really would like to see that. I know.
I think they're looking for size, but here's the thing: it's got to be size that fit with what they do. Like for instance, a guy like DeAndre Jordan, even though he's past his prime, but I'm using him for an example. He's just a diver and a roller. That won't benefit Golden State at all.
Right.
They need a big, if they're going to get a big, that's an actual rim protector at this stage in his career, can rebound at a high level, but is more than a roller. If you're just a roller, rollers are easy to defend. They actually help you defend other players, actually. So to me, they need a big who can probably get you some buckets and defend the basket. Those kind of bigs in the current NBA are a rarity. They're very rare. So I think that's why you see some of these bigs that are still out there. They don't fit what Golden State wants to do. I would have thought they would have given some more consideration to looking for even a catch and shoot big, somebody like that can help them because they already play pace and space, but they haven't done that so far. And look, it's still early. Roster construction's not complete. They might pull off a move, or maybe they're thinking that Jonathan Kuminga had a big offseason and they think he's prepared for a bigger role. He's 6'8", 6'9", athletic, physically imposing. Maybe they're looking to give Kuminga a bigger role this coming season.
We'll see what they do. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic for today. And like I said, I was kind of skipping around the list a little bit. Richard Jefferson came out with some comments saying that Dame Lillard doesn't make any of his teammates better. You agree with that statement, Mo?
I think that's a tough statement to make. Coming from RJ. Damian Lillard's basically been the Portland Trailblazers for the better part of a decade. Is he a traditional point guard? Is he Chris Paul, Steve Nash, or Rajon Rondo? He is not that type of point guard. He is more in line with most of the point guards of this current NBA. He's a scoring point guard. Right. So, yes, Dame's not going to give you 10 or 11 assists a game. He'll average around 6.5, 7 assists a game, but he's going to drop 30 points a game. He's going to make big shots late in games. So the argument that he's going to make his teammates better, I'm not sure that's a factual statement. I don't agree with that. I look at some of the teammates he's had over recent seasons. Look, let's be 100. Some of these guys, it's hard to make them better. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got a ceiling. People talk about having Nurkic over the last few years. Nurkic has been one of these guys that we put the P word next to for 6 years, potential. And he's never reached that full potential. That has nothing to do with Dame.
Right.
That's Nurkic not fulfilling his potential. They took away CJ McCollum, who was his right-hand man. And you implemented younger players. To me, Portland is in a weird purgatory, right? They want to get younger. They want to prepare for the future. And at the same time, they know that Dame is box office. They know that the fan base loves him and is loyal to him, and they're trying to hold on to him. As a basketball player, I think he absolutely has made his teammates better. He's inspired them, the ones that he could make better.
Right.
So I actually disagree with RJ. Let's respect his game for what it is. The same way we respect Steph, the same way that we respect Trae Young and a lot of these scoring point guards they're scoring point guards. It's a different era. There are very few pure point guards in this current era.
He called Nurk street clothes? Oh my goodness. Do you think you said something earlier about them being in purgatory and wanting to hold on to Dame but also get younger? What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Brett, how you doing, dude? To 3.
Hey.
In the building. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Man, good to have you. Good to have you. Let me get you in on this topic. Richard Jefferson implies that Dame Lillard doesn't make teammates better. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely do not. Let's take a look at these past 2 years here with CJ McCollum switch team. CJ McCollum's field goal percentage just tanked. I think Dame does make his guys better, but the issue is that they put pieces around him that there's not really you can do much to elevate. They put role players like Al-Farouq Aminu, Mo Harkless, and these are guys who just have a limit to how much you can really elevate their games. And I think Dame did that, but I just think with the supporting pieces they put around him, there really isn't anything else he can do, honestly.
Kind of stuck. He's kind of stuck in he's kind of stuck in that one gear to where he still feels he has to do everything.
And remember, Will, don't forget, it's Portland. Yeah. The reality is, top free agents, the very best free agents, you know where they're not going? They're not going to Portland.
They're going to Portland.
They're going to Portland. There's certain places you automatically write off during free agency, even though people go, they have the potential. Nobody's going to Portland. Nope. Ain't nobody going to Utah. Nope. Nobody's going to Sacramento. You can go on down the list. You know what no great free agent, not a top free agent. They're not going to Orlando. We can keep going. They're not going to Detroit. We can keep going.
Ain't going to Minnesota.
No, they're not. So you already know that. Even though they want their money, the top free agents, they also want to win. They also want to win.
True.
And as talented and as gifted as Dame is, that Portland team, it hasn't been in contention for years.
Yeah, it's been.
They are in a purgatory. They want to move on from him. They don't know how. They want a certain amount of value for him, but my question to them is, you will never get the perfect package.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. As gifted and as great as he's been, remember, he is 32 years old, getting ready to be 33. Nobody's going to give you the house for a star who I would say is at the very edge of his peak, of his prime.
Cool said they definitely ain't going to Charlotte.
they never go to Charlotte. They never go to Charlotte.
Oh my goodness.
And Charlotte will offer up all the money and people still go, nah, I'm good. That's a harsh reality. Look, you would think that Mike would be a good selling point. Mike is actually the reason people don't want to go to Charlotte.
Yeah.
think the biggest free agent I remember Charlotte signing in the last 10 years is like them maxing out Nick Batum in like 2015.
I think they gave Batum a monster deal.
Oh yeah,
and I like Nick. I like Nick Batum, but you don't give Nick Batum that kind of money. You just don't do that. Look, let me ask you this, Will.
Sure.
Do you think their management is taking too hard a line on what they want in return for Damian Lillard? Because it seems like at where we're at right now, it's a stare down between them and Miami and maybe another team that hasn't been named. And Dame looks like he's going to be on Portland at the start of the season, as far as I'm concerned. And that's going to make for an awkward thing because they've already gone in on the idea of having Scoot Henderson and Miles Simon as their young up and coming backcourt, right? So what are you going to do with Damian Lillard? Yeah,
that's a good point. I think I think they missed their opportunity to trade Dame 2 years ago when he was at his peak. I think that's when because if you were gonna get top dollar, that would have been the time to get it for Dame. And now he's 2 years older, and at some point he's going to hit the decline. So they're taking too much of a hard line stance on this. And plus, everybody knows you want to move him, which means you're not gonna get top value anyway. Because heck, I know y'all want to move him.
And Dame is taking a hard line. He's not helping himself, Will, because he's saying, I'm only going to Miami, right? I'm only going to Miami. So if you make that hard a line, what are you going to do about the other teams out there that could potentially offer you a better deal, a better package?
And
and Dame's under contract, so if you trade him, he could be angry. He could be like, I don't know why I ended up in Orlando. I'm very upset. You could be upset, but you're 32. You're 32 years old. You're under contract. My guess is you're gonna play. Go
ahead, Freddie.
Let's say, and not to mention, too, with Dame, it's not like he's been the peak epitome of health these past 2 years.
Right, that's true too.
On top of him wanting to only go to one team, he's at the tail end of his prime. He hasn't been healthy for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
So I think Portland's just taking too hard of a stance. They're acting like this is like 2019 Dame who can carry your team to the Western Conference Finals. That isn't this Dame anymore.
Right. And to Pat Riley's credit, he's offered a credible deal. It's a good deal. You're never going to get, like I said, equal value for what he is right this moment. So when you go, Damian Lillard is much better than Tyler Herro, nobody's arguing that. But what you have to look at is Portland is in rebuild mode. Herro's 24-25. Dame's 32-33. Yep. So when Miami goes for Damian Lillard, they're basically saying we are all in on the next 2 seasons with Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo, I guess surrounded by a bunch of minimum $1 million players, and seeing if that's enough to come out of the Eastern Conference. I'm not even sure that's enough, honestly. I think that if you bring Dame there, yes, they're going to be box office. They're going to be fun to watch. But if I was a betting man, I still don't think they're the best team in the East.
I still think you will have to deal with the Milwaukees. I still think you have to deal with a resurgent Boston team. I still think that would be kind of hard. Cool asked, what if Philly offers Harden and a first? Would y'all do that for Dame?
Well, if I was Portland, I'd be like, how about a couple of firsts and y'all keep Harden?
Oh man.
Remember, Portland knows that they're in rebuild mode. The last thing you want to do is bring another star who's on the other side of 33, past his prime. Like, what? They don't want him. They're trying to get rid of Dame. They don't want to bring in Harden so he can walk the ball up the court and drain the air out the arena. They don't want that. So if you're going to have to do a 3-team trade, Portland wants no part of James Harden.
Yeah, and plus bringing in James Harden, he's going to dominate the ball. That's going to be less reps for, like Scoot, Shaden Sharp, and all these young guys they want to develop.
Facts.
Oh, yeah.
So bringing in James Harden at that point is almost like it's hindering the Blazers more than actually helping them. I'd rather bring in Mr. Top best 15 player in the East, Tyler Herro, at that point.
Yeah. Bringing Herro and with a couple of number 1 picks. I'm just saying. Look, I respect James Harden's career, but his value is not an all. It is I'm not saying it's at an all-time low, but he's limited in his options going forward in his career. I don't think it's that deep. He's either going to remain with Philly and continue with this run, or he will go to the Clippers eventually. But I think those are the only options that make sense for him in terms of going to a team or landing somewhere where he can compete for a title. You stay in Philly with Embiid. It was disappointing, but let's not forget, they're one game away for going to the conference finals, and they just couldn't get the job done. So obviously they have enough to get it done. They just didn't get it done. Why wouldn't you bring that back? Why wouldn't you run that back? There's no guarantee that Boston beats them again. I really think that Philly matches up well with Boston in the way that they defend. There's no shame when you're playing against a team like Boston and Jason Tatum suddenly launches himself to superstar level in the fourth quarter of a game. You can play all the defense you in the world, but when a guy's that hot, he's playing that well, you just tip your hat to you and keep it moving. But that was game 6.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for what happened in game 7.
None.
There's no excuse for that. So I'm just saying, I just think the market has shrunk for stars that are in their 30s on the other side. Dame has made it that much smaller, right, guys? Because he's saying it's Miami or bust. And right now, it looks like he's going to be suiting up for Portland.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Excuse me. That's what exactly it looks like. All right, let me pivot over for a second over to the NFL. I'm gonna have 2 topics on the NFL. I want to talk about the Josh Jacobs situation and how the Raiders kind of screwed that whole thing up with him. Do you think Josh Jacobs is being disrespected? I'll start with you, Gardy. Do you think he's being disrespected by the Raiders in terms of not wanting to sign him to a long-term deal?
No, I think he is. Listen, I get it. They don't want to pay running backs right now. The running back market's really dried up when it comes to money at this point. But let's not act like Josh Jacobs really hasn't been the catalyst to keep that offense running. Josh Jacobs he's the guy. We all know that like for example with Derek Carr, he's really helped them, by anchoring the run game and just kind of being that leading rusher, that guy to kind of keep a pass rush off him and everything. Like Josh Jacobs has been so good to them that he should feel disrespected that he's not getting a long-term deal, honestly.
Mo, what you think?
He's not their greatest offensive weapon because that would be Devontae Adams, but he's their most impactful and most consistent offensive weapon. 1,500-yard running back. So to me, he's the catalyst, like Brett said, their offense. Look, Jimmy Garoppolo, people joke about it, but when he's healthy, he's a solid quarterback, period. He can get the job done for you. But what helps Jimmy G, where he's at his best, is where he's boosted up by a strong run game.
Yep.
So the idea that they want to disrespect him and not pay Josh Jacobs, it doesn't make any sense unless, to me, and this is when I look at the Raiders, I think the Raiders management is basically saying, we're going to tank this season. I think they think they're going to be bad and they have no intentions of really competing and trying to win. And if you're not trying to win, why would you pay Josh Jacobs?
I think that's a damn shame because you and the person I feel sorry for the most is Devontae Adams.
Oh,
That's
yeah. He went there to play with his boy, and his boy's gone.
Boy gone.
That's crazy.
I'll say if this season goes south, I'm guessing it's probably Devontae's last with the Raiders. He'll probably want out next year.
Devontae's bouncing. He's going to try to demand out before the season's over because this season with Jimmy G, what he's going to average? Maybe 11, 12 yards a catch, get beat up a lot over the middle. Like, this is not going to be a great year for Devontae Adams. It's not going to be a great year for anybody in a Raiders uniform. But to me, you owe it to your fan base to put forth the most competitive team you can put forth. And that starts with respecting your star running back, giving him a decent contract. If you put Josh Jacobs in that lineup, they have a solid offensive line. They won't be a great team, but they'll be a competitive team. And if you're a fan base, if you're a season ticket holder, that's what you hold on to, right?
Right.
You hold on to your team competing. You hold on to hope. To me, this is ownership. This is management basically crushing hope.
And then not only did you do that, your boy Carr gone. You got rid of Waller too.
Waller's gone, right? So
Bruh.
and so you just made Jimmy G's and Devontae Adams' job that much harder because Waller is one of those vertical threat tight ends that can occupy the middle of the field and create mismatches with his speed. And now he's gone. Now, to be fair, as talented as Waller is, he's had a hard time staying on the field.
That's true.
Talented dude, but a brittle dude at the same time.
That's true. Like he was made of glass. All right, sticking with the NFL, which quarterback would you start your franchise with between Zach Wilson and Trey Lance? Mo, I'll start with you.
There's not a third option.
We ain't got no third option, man. We still with these two.
That's rough. Look,
That's
there's no secret. I'm a Niners fan.
Mm-hmm.
What I've seen of Trey Lance, I mean, I'm really, really excited to see Purdy get healthy. I think Trey Lance is an incredible athlete. I don't know if he's ever going to be the quarterback that people wanted him to be or projected him to be. Man, that's a tough choice. Honestly, if I were the coach, I might think about running the wishbone. Honestly, I might think about running the damn wishbone.
I don't know if he does that like that, man. All right, Gardner, what you thinking, man? Are you starting your franchise with Zach Wilson or Trey Lance?
I think my first option is I'm starting Mo at quarterback. This question's funny to me because I feel like no matter who I pick, I'm competing for Caleb Williams next year anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
That might be the plan,
right?
For real.
I feel like if that's the case, I feel like Zach Wilson gives me the best chance to lose a ton of games. Because I feel like Trey Lance has the potential to be better, but I haven't seen much of him. That's kind of part of the issue. So I really still don't fully know what I'm getting with Trey Lance.
That's fair.
That's fair.
It's like take what you have in Zach Wilson, or take like the mystery box. So I guess if I'm trying to compete, I would probably take my chances on Trey Lance because I already know what Zach Wilson is, and I'll try to take Trey Lance's upside over that.
To be fair, in their first preseason game, Zach Wilson actually looked solid. I'm just being fair. Can he carry that on throughout the preseason and establish himself as a really good backup just in case A-Rod misses a game or two? That remains a big question. But he looked solid in his first outing. I think you both make a great point that with Trey Lance, and I'm a Niners fan, you just haven't seen enough to know. You really haven't.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get a better idea of what he could be within this preseason.
All right, we're gonna keep the show going. We're gonna keep the show going. Put your likes, put your comments, everything down here. Throw a couple of fire emojis down. Let everybody know that you guys love us out there in TV land. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic. I want to bring up this madness that's been going on over at ESPN. The whole basketball side of things have been turned over. Now we got Doris Burke and Doc Rivers. My God, why Doc Rivers? But we got Doris Burke and Doc Rivers on play-by-play. What do you guys think about these changes? We lost Mark Jackson. We lost Van Gundy. What do you guys think about these new changes? Can this work for the worldwide leader?
I think Doris is going to be great. Mark Doc sounds like he's smoked like 8 packs in the last year, so I don't really want to hear his raspy voice, but I think he can be fine. I think he can be fine, but I just really don't like his voice, I'll be honest. But he's a very smart and insightful guy, so it very well could work.
That's funny. I was thinking the same thing. With that voice, Doc sounds like Scatman Crothers. It's almost inaudible. It's so raspy. But Brett's right. His knowledge of the game. I would actually say that when he was an analyst before his first go around, Doc was great. He's one of the better analysts. So I don't doubt that Doc will do well. The voice can be hard on the ears, but he's spitting a lot of knowledge. Doris Burke will do well. Look, I don't doubt that this team will do well. I just really enjoyed the other team. I love the back and forth between Mark Jackson and Van Gundy. That was natural chemistry, and they both had a wealth of knowledge about the game of basketball. Jackson as a player, a former player, coach. Van Gundy as a coach. So I don't know if the change was a money thing or they really thought that, you know what, maybe we need to hear some new voices. I think this team will work. I'm just kind of saddened that both of those guys are not even part of the network at all.
I just feel like it's the B team to me. You elevate the B team. That's what it feels like to me. And again, I think Doris will do okay. I don't like Doc at all on the mic. even in his press conferences, it's not just Blake. It's not just Blake. No.
That's actually good, Doc Rivers.
I just can't stand it, man. I just can't stand it. And then you go back and look at how many leads he's blown as a coach, and it's like, yeah, you might know the game, but this knowledge that you have didn't help you win. So you were better off with Van Gundy and Jackson, in my opinion.
The one benefit of him going to the booth, though, is I'm so glad I get to see him as an analyst and not just looking completely lost on the sidelines. Like, honestly, that was always my frustration with him is he got like voted as like a top 15 coach of all time. He gets so like hyped up, but every time I watch him, he looks like in Game 7 of that last year's playoffs. He just looked completely lost. Like he didn't know what was going on, what the Celtics were going to do. Like he didn't just see him for six games and had time to adjust their game plan.
I've seen that look before with the Sixers. I've seen that look before with the Clippers. I've seen that look before. Doc has milked the hell out of that one championship.
And I ain't never seen nothing like it. Have y'all seen anything like this? At that one championship, he milking the heck out of it. I've never seen that.
No, and I really think that you could have thrown pretty much anybody on that coaching staff. As long as they were like an average coach, they probably would have won it in 08 too. When your assistant is Tom Thibodeau and you have a defense with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, you have Tony Allen off the bench. Like that team was so insanely good that as long as there's an average coach in there, I think they would have won it anyway.
Now, I'm gonna switch over to college football for a quick second. What is this with these ACC teams wanting to move over to the Big Ten? I think Clemson, Florida State, and I couldn't remember the other one. I don't like it. First of all, I am a Florida State fan, so I got to put that out there. I'm an FSU fan. But I don't like the move because if that happens, I think it's going to end up being a logistics nightmare and it turns back and hurts you. I mean, because I don't think Florida State is good enough to hang with the Michigan. I don't think they're good enough to hang with Ohio State. Gardner, what you think about that?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I'll defer to Mo on this one.
So they might not be good enough right now, but they're getting more exposure going to that conference. And with NIL, that opens up the field for everybody. I think they'll be able to recruit better. They're going to bring in better talent. So maybe they're not going to be able to contend with the top schools the first couple of years. But I think that over time, they're going to be able to bring in top flight talent, and they'll more than hold their own. The thing about NIL, what it's done is opened up the potential to where it used to be a narrow scope of schools that everybody would look to because they knew they had the exposure, they had the success, the culture, if you want to call that. But there was money being exchanged, right? We all know money was always flowing. Well, with NIL, which is why Nick Saban is so upset, we can throw out money too. Now there's a way that we can bring you up. These guys now are coming in, these college kids, they're already branded. They're already building up their brand. They're going to go into the NBA, the NFL, and they're going to already have millions of dollars in their bank account because of what they've done in college.
Right. Like I think another thing that I don't like about it too, it could be somewhat of a logistics nightmare.
I agree.
In terms of traveling. If you're Florida, maybe not, Tallahassee, of course, you're fine. But I think traveling, it might be a little bit of a logistic nightmare for Florida State fans. But we'll see. I just don't like it for that reason. But we'll see what they do. Casey says Florida State can compete with Michigan and Ohio State. Maybe not right now, but if they hold their own in the Big Ten in the future, if they do make the jump. So
I agree 100%, KC. We're on the
forged
same
by fire.
page.
So it'd be a case of more forged by fire than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they will find their way in that conference once they're able to establish themselves and get a big recruiting class in there. They'll be fine.
Definitely NIL does make a huge difference.
Man, if they had NIL back in the day, I would have stayed in college.
All right, let me go around and get everybody's as we get started to the season. Let me go around and get everybody's top 5 Super Bowl contenders for early season. Let me see how many of these stick for you guys. Mo, I'm gonna start with you on that one.
Top 5. So let me go with the Chiefs, the world champ Chiefs. I'll go with the Bengals, the Eagles, the Niners. And you know what? Just on talent. And just so people can lose their mind, I'm gonna throw the Cowboys in there at my 15.
Oh, hold up! Now. Oh, I can't. Oh, I can't agree with that. No.
I didn't say it for agreement.
Go ahead, man.
I definitely think Chiefs, Bengals for sure. I think the Eagles and 49ers absolutely. A 5th team. You know what? I'm going to go bold. I think Jacksonville will make a nice run this year. Jacksonville's a dark horse.
That is bold. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Do y'all like Jacksonville better than the Bills this year?
I would say I like Jacksonville within their division better than the Bills.
Right.
The Bills division just got a lot tougher, right? So that's a tough division. And they've got a tough schedule to start the season off with. So I don't think Jacksonville will run away with their division, but I expect them to win the division. I do.
My top 5, I got the Chiefs. I got Cincinnati. I got Philly. Somebody just picked the Lions. Can't pick the Lions because I can't.
I think Detroit's going to have a good season. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender.
No. But Chiefs, Bengals, Eagles, last 2 teams. I got Baltimore, who I think can give the Chiefs. I think Baltimore can give the Chiefs fits. Because of that defense.
You just made Jordan happy.
I think Baltimore can compete. I think Baltimore can because that defense can give the Chiefs fits. That's a very good defense. If Lamar can continue to make strides in the passing game, air the football out a little bit more, and be more consistent. That's the one thing with Lamar. It got to be consistent. If you can do that, then I think they can definitely give the Chiefs a run for their money. And then number 5, I got Jacksonville over the Bills. I don't trust Buffalo. I don't.
I hear you.
I think my issue with the Bills is normally to win in the playoffs, like you don't need an overwhelmingly dominant run game, but you need to show some balance and consistency with the run game and at least be willing to use it.
Right.
Buffalo just hasn't. And they haven't been effective with it. They try RPOs, except it's all Josh Allen keeping the ball. So at that point, you might as well just start running more quarterback draws. But to me, I want to see more consistency with them out of the run game and them have a more balanced offense in order for me to actually take Buffalo seriously as a Super Bowl contender. I think they have the pieces. Mm-hmm. I think they have the talent.
Yeah.
Now I just want to see a more balanced offense to kind of help Josh Allen out.
I agree. It's gonna be a wild season. Somebody give me an upset pick. Gardy, give me an upset pick. Give me a dark horse.
A dark horse for the Super Bowl?
Give me a dark horse pick. Somebody who you wouldn't see coming.
Who? I think that now this might not be a Super Bowl contender, but I think that Carolina can make a run at the playoffs. I think they're going to be better than people expected. I think Bryce Young's going to step in and be much better than people think. They added some really nice pieces this year. Otherwise, the other team I had in mind, and I really hate saying it as a Packers fan, but the Bears.
I kind of figured that would be.
The Bears have made some really nice moves this offseason. And I think as long as the coaching is somewhat competent, which is the part which I don't trust about the Bears, I think that they could also make a run at the playoffs this year.
What you think, Mo?
So a team that nobody sees coming. This is an easy one. Minnesota. We never expect nothing from them. I'm just being real. We don't really expect much from the Vikings in the postseason. So I'm going to say the Vikings because if they do, they'll surprise us all. But we don't expect that to happen. So I'll say Minnesota.
We be doing first cousins like that, man. Come on.
To be fair, Kirk Cousins was the only reason they were in that game last year in the playoffs because that defense was just hemorrhaging points. So I know everybody gives Kirk Cousins slack for throwing for 3 yards on a 4th and 8, but it's so funny because I think all that criticism about that game with Kirk Cousins is so unwarranted because, like I said, he was the big reason that team was still in that game.
I agree. I thought he played well that game.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me see if I can pull this up for everybody real quick. Give me a second.
Jordan, I just don't trust Baltimore because Lamar Jackson has been hurt the last 3 times the Ravens has made it to the postseason. So if he can stay healthy, they can make the Super Bowl, but I need to believe it when I see it at this point.
For Lamar to stay healthy, somebody else is going to have to be their leading rusher. It can't be him.
Oh, 100% agreed.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. Hold on one thing. I'm trying to get this to work here. Might not be able to get it to work, so I'll just go over. Let me see.
And we all know that the Lions, everybody projects the Lions have a really good season, and I actually agree with that. I don't know how far they'll go in the postseason, but I think the Lions have made a lot of good moves in the offseason. And so when you look at that team on both sides of the ball, the playmakers that they added, it's an underrated team top to bottom. They finished strong last season, so I think the Lions are going to be a problem that nobody actually wants to deal with. It could be interesting to see what kind of run they could actually get on.
I think the NFC North in general is just going to be like a pretty brutal dogfight, honestly. Because I think the Lions are a really good team. The Vikings are a really good regular season team. The Bears have improved. The Packers, in all reality, should have a top 10 defense. They have a top-tier running game. Like Christian Watson showed some really good flashes. Like the big question mark is obviously Jordan Love and the receivers. But if those 2 step up, they have the pieces to, not necessarily go to the Super Bowl, but to just compete and fight in every game.
Look, if they can just get Jordan Love to be a competent game manager to go with that running game, they'll actually be a very competitive team. Like everybody's like, he needs to throw for like 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Look, if he's just competent and he can move the chains without turning the ball over, because the most important thing is taking care of the football. But if he can turn the ball over and he can move the chains, the Packers are going to be a competitive football team.
And that'd be a huge win for Jordan Love's confidence.
Yeah, that's what I said. Your really legit first year as being the starter. Look, you don't have to come out and be an all-pro or make a Pro Bowl, but if you're just solid, if you just give your guys in the huddle confidence that you know what you're doing, whatever kind of offense they're running, maybe they run a short passing game that features the running backs and the tight end. Even if it's that, if you're competent at that and that's your game and it works, then do that. Look, Alex Smith killed people dumping it down to the running backs and tight ends. It is an effective strategy. It's not exciting. It's not something you want to watch unless you're a fan of that team. But dumping down, everybody gets down on quarterbacks that check down. Look, if I check down to you 6 yards and another 6 yards and another 6 yards, it's not exciting, but it moves the chain.
Yep.
You say Alex Smith and those Chiefs teams, and I immediately think back to like 2014 when they had no receivers get any touchdowns. and the entire offense was just one giant check down to Jamal Charles and Travis Kelce.
I love Jamal Charles back in the day. Come on, man.
Oh, I love it too. It was the most incredibly basic offense ever to watch. It was so funny.
So basic and vanilla.
Alex Smith has some wheels too. Don't forget, he has some wheels.
True.
Before his injuries, he had wheels. He could take off.
All right, guys. We're gonna finish up. Sticking with the NFL, we're gonna finish up the show. Top 100 list is complete. Reactions to the top 10 and the overall rankings for the QBs who made the list. Let me go over the top 10. From the top 100, we'll get to the best 10 players on the list. The 10th player is the defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones. Number 9 is linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Parsons. Number 8, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. Number 7, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill. Number 6, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Number 5, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. Number 4, defensive end for the San Francisco 49ers, Nick Bosa. Number 3, quarterback for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts. Number 2, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson. And number 1, quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, Patrick Mahomes. I wanted to go up and talk about the quarterbacks. Number 8 is Josh Allen. How do you guys see Josh Allen performing this year? Let me go with Gardy.
I think Josh Allen's going to have another heck of a year. Like I said, with Josh Allen, at this point, I don't doubt his talent. I think he'll throw for a lot of yards. I think he'll throw a lot of touchdowns. I think the big thing with him is we just got to cut down on the turnovers, and that's where I think a run game could benefit him. So I think I'll have another great year. I'm just hoping to see less turnovers on him.
Mo, what you thinking, man?
Everybody knows about the talent, the production. To me, though, for Buffalo to be the team that people want them to be, like Gardy said, what they need is a more balanced offense.
Oh, yeah.
They don't need Josh Allen. And really, you don't really want your quarterback running the ball like that. He didn't just run the ball. He runs the ball like a fullback. Like he's running through people. It's good to be a big, strong guy, but eventually you're going to take as many shots as you give. Right. I actually think less Josh Allen is better for Buffalo. Don't be so Josh Allen-centric. Feature your running backs. Dump the ball down to your running backs or your tight ends. Like balance it out with the run game. I don't have a problem where he's rated, but I think if you're looking at the big picture of what Buffalo could be, they need to spread the ball around more. And I think that'll take a lot of pressure off of him. He doesn't turn the ball over all the time. He just has a habit of making the bad turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. Freddie said he's overrated. Oh my goodness. Number 6 on this list is Joe Burrow. Mo, I'll start with you. What's your opinion on Joe Burrow and what do you think he'll do this year?
Well, first, if I were doing this list, Joe Burrow would be number 2.
Wow.
Number 2. There's only one person better than him, and that guy plays in Kansas City. So, to me, in terms of value, Joe Burrow would be number 2. Joe Cool is a man. If Joe Burrow and the Bengals can get consistent play from their defense, and that offensive line, it showed signs the second half of the season, they're going to be a legit threat to win the Super Bowl. I have higher expectations of the Bengals than I do the Bills. As much as I respect what Josh Allen could be or what he has been, he's not better than Joe Burrow. He's not even close. Joe Cool is right on the heels of Patrick Mahomes. I think it's a lot closer than people want to admit. And when you look at that receiving core and the talent that they have to spread you out, they're a problem. So I think the Bengals are going to end up in the AFC Championship game.
No, I agree. You got that receiving core, then you also add in Joe Mixon can catch passes out of the backfield.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with that too. I think that Joe Burrow is the number 2. I would knock Justin Jefferson down, put Joe Burrow there. I think he's going to have a heck of a year, and this is a real Super Bowl contender as long as that defense can hold up.
Yep, I agree. All right, we have our next quarterback at number 3, and Gardy, I'll start with you. Jalen Hurts. What do you think he's going to do this year?
Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to be phenomenal again. You surrounded him with talent, with a nice big 3 and wide receivers and tight ends with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to have another phenomenal year. He's He's a quarterback. He always keeps his eyes downfield, and he does, run the ball. But he's still. What I like about him is he still looks to pass first before he takes off, which is what I think a big flaw. A lot of these mobile quarterbacks are when they'll just look down the field and look to run right away. Jalen Hurts will keep his eyes down the field and he'll look to pass, but then he'll run if he has to, or if it's a designed run. This Eagles team is going to be a real threat again to be back in the Super Bowl easily. This is going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Not to mention they really killed it in the draft this past year.
Yeah, they did.
So look out for the Eagles this year.
What you thinking, Mo? What you think about Jalen Hurts?
So we always start off with health. Provided that he can stay healthy, to me, Jalen Hurts will probably be he'll probably be the league MVP. I think that you create an offensive system that fits your player's skill set. They've created the system. This is his second year all the way immersed in that system. But I think this is the year where he becomes the system. I think that there are other things that we haven't seen from Jalen Hurts. It wouldn't surprise me if Jalen Hurts throws for well over 4,000 yards and has about 600 or 700 yards rushing. This Eagles offense is going to open up even more. I actually look for Smith to take his game to another level. They're going to be the best offense in the NFL. The scary part is they're going to have a top 2 or 3 defense as well.
Yep. I agree. All right. And the last person on this list is, of course, that number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I have a question to tag along with that. He's lost a lot in terms of receiving core, but he's made it work thus far. Do you guys think this might be the year it catches up to him? I'll start with you, Mo.
So I think that a lot of teams in the AFC made a lot of moves and improved their overall talent. It's beneficial not just to Patrick Mahomes this season, but going forward, that one of these young receivers steps up and becomes like a vital part of that rotation of that receiving core. Because if not, I do think the magic that he pulled off last year in the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl with a bunch of number 2s and 3s, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that again this year. Somebody's going to have to give Travis Kelce some help. Yeah. There's going to have to be somebody else. You don't have to catch 1,200 yard receiving yards or anything like that, but you got to be productive. If they have, let's say they have 3 or 4 guys that have 6, 7, 800 yards receiving, even if they do that, then they're going to be back in the Super Bowl. But if it's going to be about Travis Kelce and the magic of Patrick Mahomes or bust, I think that's asking too much this particular season. So somebody's going to have to separate themselves and step up. And maybe it's not just the receiving core. The second-year running back, the kid's got some talent. Maybe they hand him the ball off a couple hundred times this season, and he's a 1,200-yard running back, and that actually alleviates pressure from Patrick Mahomes. A run game can open up even more things. You got Patrick Mahomes where you actually respect the play-action pass. That's scary stuff. So I'm just thinking somebody has to step up. It can't just be him and Kelce. They need a third guy, or let's say a group of guys that are impactful for them to get back to the Super Bowl.
Gardy, what you thinking, man?
No, I agree with that. They're going to, like last year, they're going to need multiple guys to step up around Kelce. They don't need anything too big, but just guys that'll make timely catches, move the chains, make plays when needed. I'm not going to doubt Patrick Mahomes at this point. He's already shown that level of greatness that no matter who you rotate in or in around him, he's going to make it work. You see that out of really guys who we consider ultimate winners, like I'll use NBA examples. Bill Russell, no matter who you rotated in or around him, he still won championships. Tim Duncan, no matter who you rotated in and around him, he still made sure to win. Patrick Mahomes is doing the same thing. So I'm not going to doubt Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think it'll catch up to him this year, but a lot of that's just me giving him the benefit of the doubt, just because he's already shown me he's just shown me he's a winner. That's just the kind of talent he is. So I think they'll be just fine this year.
Cool.
Well, don't forget, this will also be the first year minus Eric Bieniemy, right? So and maybe that could impact the offense. Now, granted, we all know that Andy Reid himself is also a great play caller, so maybe nothing changed and everything is seamless. But we'll see the impact of what not having Bieniemy looks like. So that might be an interesting thing to look for
Might be. All right, guys, that's going to be all our topics for today. Mo, I want to roll over to you for your boxing segment real quick. You got a box you want to go over and tell us more about?
Not one boxer in particular. Coach and I were talking about great fighters and great fights. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, when you think of the super fights that you witnessed as a fan, my favorite 3 super fights: Leonard Hearns, the first one, Hagler Hearns, maybe the greatest 3 minutes of fighting you'll ever see. If you've never seen Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Tommy Hearns, go to YouTube, put it in. If you got 3 rounds to spare, just watch it. It is the most electrifying 3 rounds you will ever see in boxing. And then the third one that most people might not appreciate, Riddick Bowe, the first time him and Holyfield met.
I remember that.
That is a brawl. That is a bad. If you want a real life fight that looks the closest to a Rocky movie, watch Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield. And I can go old school. When Larry Holmes became the heavyweight champion, he took it from Ken Norton, and that was the hungry Larry Holmes, the contender, trying to keep away Ken Norton, the pressure puncher, the power puncher with the pickable style, and Larry Holmes took the title from Ken Norton. But that was a great fight. What is a great fight, Will, that sticks out for you?
Oh man.
Oh, let me not forget. Anybody that's ever seen Arturo Gotti versus Mickey Ward, those are wars.
Man, for me, it was probably, and I was man, how old was I? Mike Tyson, and when Tyson and Holyfield started going out at it for me.
Okay.
Those were impactful. I thought Tyson could have won that last one too. He went this cycle crazy and bit his ear off. But I thought Tyson had a chance.
The first fight, I remember that first Holyfield Tyson fight. I was over a friend's house, and it might have been me and one other guy that were Holyfield fans. There's like 40 people in there, and they were all Tyson fans. And from the first time Holyfield walked through Tyson's combination, he walked through it. When he walked through it, I knew it was over. Nobody walks through Mike Tyson combination. And he walked through it like he didn't even throw it. When I knew he could walk through his best shots, even when he threw the hook, the overhand hook, nothing. Vander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson at his own game. He beat him up on the inside, and then he outpunched him on the outside.
And that's why I thought it was so impactful, because it showed you the greatness of Holyfield, where he was sort of kind of being doubted. It showed you how great Holyfield was.
He's not the greatest boxer of all time, Holyfield, but he's actually my favorite boxer of all time.
Yeah. Very done a lot of good things in the sport of boxing. Gardy, you got anybody you want to discuss?
It's funny because I'll be honest, I've ordered 1 boxing pay-per-view in my life, and that's because I bought into the hype of Mayweather and Pacquiao.
Oh, you got robbed.
Yeah. I was very disappointed. I haven't really gotten another one since. It's probably because of that. But like I said, I'll watch highlights and whatnot. And one boxer that I've actually gone back and watched full fights of just because he intrigued me was Gennady Golovkin. There was something about, like, I really love his punching power, just the way he just like knocks people out. Like, haven't watched too much boxing, but if I were to pick my favorite boxer, it'd have to be Golovkin.
Another dude
I love Golovkin because he can put together multiple punch combinations. Like most guys will put together a 2 or 3 punch combination. He's putting together 8 and 10 punch combinations.
Another dude I like growing up, when I got to watch him fight, Ken Norton.
Yeah,
I love watching Ken Norton fight. Yeah,
Ken Norton fight. Man, the first time Sugar Ray Leonard fought Roberto Duran, the brawl in Montreal.
Remember that one?
I was so mad about the results of that fight. Obviously I was rooting for Sugar Ray Leonard, and Roberto Duran just mauled him. He just punked him. I was so mad, and I was like, man, I hope Sugar Ray fights this dude again. And obviously he got his revenge in the rematch, the famous No Moss fight. Those super fights that I guess we'll talk about at another time. You don't see that in boxing anymore.
No.
Think about how long it took to put together Spence Crawford. There was a time in boxing, it was big fight after big fight. If Marvin Hagler wasn't fighting Tommy Hearns, he took on Sugar Ray Leonard. If Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't fighting Marvin Hagler, then he would take on Tommy Hearns or Roberto Duran. The fighters back in that time, they weren't trying to milk the clock. They were trying to be the best by actually being in the ring and beating the best. And you don't see that now.
I agree. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the show this morning. I want to say thank you to everybody coming out in the chat. I appreciate all of you guys.
Appreciate everybody.
Check this show out. Sports Empire Network. Like, comment, subscribe. Show us some love, everybody. Let's get this show over the top. Coach Dante will be back tomorrow. He's, I think, at Texans training camp this morning.
Let's go, Coach.
He will be back tomorrow, back in the hosting seat. We'll see tomorrow, Coach Dante. Gardy, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you.
Yeah, not a problem. Always love being on here.
Thank you, man. And for everybody here, myself, Mo, Gardy, we'll see you guys again tomorrow right here on the Coffee Sports Morning Show, Sports Empire Network. We'll see you later. Peace, everybody.
Peace.